Okay, we're going to get started. Good afternoon and welcome to the Administration, Finance, Recreation and Parks, Public Safety and Public Works Committee meeting for July 9, 2019. The purpose of the committee meetings are for the city departments to pass along information to the City Council and discuss initiatives listed on the published agenda. By ordinance, the committee consists of the mayor, members of the City Council, and the City Administrator. The ordinance mandates the City Administrator as the chair of the committee meetings. By ordinance, the committee makes no formal decisions on committee matters. Rather, items are voted to move to a mayor and council meeting for consideration and vote, or staff receives guidance from the committee regarding a matter. This is a public meeting, but not a public hearing. Therefore, while the meeting is open to the public, we do not take public comments or questions during the committee meetings. Public comments or questions are received at the regular City Council meetings held at 7 p.m. in the City Council chambers on the second and fourth Monday of each month. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for the, for the Public Safety and Public Works Committee meeting for June 11th, 2019. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Councilmember Judy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Tizer. Any questions or comments, corrections? All in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. Motion carries. There are no items under Public Safety, Fire, Public Safety, Police. Number 2, discussion regarding safe hotel ordinance. Councilmember Palermo.
Thank you. Now, we discussed this last time. I thought it was a fruitful discussion. It is very important to me that our many hotels that are providing a great contribution to our community, I want to see them be rewarded. And those that are having the highest number of service calls, I do want to make sure it's not our taxpayers that are really subsidizing them and paying for a lot of that support. That being said, tonight my intention is not to move for a vote specifically around this ordinance that I brought forward regarding Alpharetta's. I think it's actually a great idea. It's something I want to look at closer, as well as working with staff in the community to look at other options as well. So I just wanted to give this committee that update from my perspective.
Thank you. Moving on to Public Works. Item number 3, consideration from the mayor and or city administrator to sign contracts for on-call construction services with Federal EC LLC, Chatfield Contracting Incorporated, the Dickerson Group Incorporated, Grade Co., Wade Coots, and Steele & Associates Incorporated. Gentlemen.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. So this is the recompetition of our standby on-call contracts for general construction for primarily water and stormwater infrastructure. We've added a separate category for pipelining this time to give us some more contractors in our pool, mostly so that we can hopefully get responses because the market is competitive and scheduling contractors has been a little more challenging. So the selection committee, I believe, received 9 proposals. We are expanding the pool. We had 3 contractors last year plus a pipelining contractor, and now we'll be expanding that field to a field of 6. And we'll bring back any and all awards that are above $75,000 to you all individually for approvals under this contract. I'll be happy to answer any questions. We've got a couple of new members and a couple of incumbent contractors, and we're pleased about the response.
Floor is open.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Councilmember Judy.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Wilsey. Any further questions or discussion? All in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. Item number 4, discussion and update of the Fleet Services Fund.
So again, this is one of our sort of annual updates on each of our funds, and with me tonight is Anthony Millsap, who runs our fleet services operations, and I'm going to turn it over to him. It's been an eventful year and an eventful tenure. This is your 3rd year, I believe, Anthony?
Yes,
I'll turn it over to you, and we'll run through a few items related to fleet and address any questions you have. No actions requested, just information and guidance.
Okay, good evening, Mayor and Council. Okay, we're going to go over the overview, our mission statement, organization and staffing, responsibilities, improvements, vehicle life cycle, and then any questions at the end. The Fleet Service Fund mission to provide safe, dependable equipment and fueling services in support of our user department's missions at a competitive maintenance cost in the most effective and efficient manner possible. We strive to do that every day to save city money. Our fleet service staff, we've had, since I've been here, approximately about a 58% turnover. I like to highlight our core of mechanics. Yes, right there, Mark Palmer, Leonard Potts, and George Whitaker. They've been here the whole 3 years. Actually, I think the tenure is about 10 years for one of those individuals. They have been here through the whole 3 years. And in addition, we have Mr. Stanzel is on board for about a year. A new hire, William Kendall, he's our service rider. And Matthew Bargello, he's our new fleet mechanic one, also our tire service guy. So we've really had a dramatic turnover in our staffing. Production has increased, and we're looking forward to doing better things in the future. The one change I would like to note on our slide is that our hours have been set a little earlier. We used to do 8 to 5, we do 7 to 4 now. We're still on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Next slide. The liaisons that we work with every day, just wanted to highlight these individuals, these men and women who work with me every day when we have issues and problems to solve about the vehicles. The police department, we communicate all the time because there's something always happening in the police department. So just want to show you their names if you're not familiar with them. FY 2019 accomplishments. What I'd like to highlight on here is the emission testing. Out of my 3 years here, this has been the easiest and the best emissions process. We didn't have to chase down too many vehicles to have them tested. We did 243 vehicles in like 30 days. Want to go down to maintenance vehicle records. We're going to talk about that a little later. Just wanted to bring that up. And FY 2019 enterprise lease status. We projected to lease 62 vehicles this year. Currently, we completed 41 of those orders, and right now we're just reevaluating the funds to continue with the 21 remaining vehicles. So we'll prioritize those so we don't run out of money. These are the changes that have happened to our budget over the years. Initially, we started off with about $800,000, and then in 2018, they moved the vehicle replacement fund and equipment fund over to our budget, and that's just an accounting move. And then in 2019, there was an additional $300K removed to balance the budget, basically. And now we're currently at 2.9 with the new leasing venture with Enterprise. New equipment and tools. The 3 software at the top, we have Cummins Insight and Premium Tech tools and Allison transmission tools. Those allow us to do dealer level repairs that we weren't doing before, diagnose the equipment and repair it and get it back to our customers. Basically, our larger vehicles like our fire trucks, our rear loaders, they have Cummins motors in them, so that we use that Cummins Insight for. We have front loaders use the Premium Tech tools. And then all of our vehicles have Allison transmissions in them, so we use that for them. The one story I'd like to highlight is that crane in the bottom left. Normally for a fire truck, it's about $13,000 to replace and repair a radiator. We're saving about $10,000 because of that crane. We can take it out ourselves now, remove it, and have it rebuilt, and then reinstall it ourselves. So that was a good move to purchase that. Vehicle life cycle. Not much has changed on this slide except we're now partnered with Enterprise now. So we're going through the same life cycle, but Enterprise will be working with us. The lease approval process. Basically, we identify the eligible vehicles / qualified vehicles based on the criteria we have set forth. We prioritize the vehicles with the department liaisons. We find out what their priorities are. If we have identified 10 vehicles, you feel that this lemon vehicle needs to be replaced, or this trouble vehicle, I should say, should be replaced, we will move that up in the order. Identify vehicle specifications for the departments. We need to know exactly what you need to do your job, perform your mission. So you identify that, and we get that, and we communicate that with the enterprise. Coordinate specifications and quotes with enterprise, and that's a part of that process. Identify if you need 4x4, if you need a tow trailer, tow hook, and all those kind of things. If you needed anything else special. And then we like to finalize the vehicle approval process using DocuSign. That means that everyone that's involved in the process has to sign off and say, hey, I agree, this is what we need, this is what we want, or we request it, so we can get that done. So that has worked out pretty well thus far. These are the vehicles in our fleet. Everything that's on the left, we currently do not lease, but everything that's on the right, we lease Interceptors, Caprice, and pickup trucks. So what I mentioned earlier about the radiator, that is the fire truck in the upper left that costs about $13,000 to replace that radiator. Future shop enhancements. What we like to talk about is our new software we're going into is HyperWeb. And currently we're in training right now. We're replacing our old software called Collective Fleet. I think it has outlived this time with us. So HyperWeb, we're very excited about these things that can help us do. Operators can submit electronic work orders. That's going to free up some paper, some time, and we can identify those vehicles that need service quicker. The mechanics will actually use Toughbook computers to go out. They can scan the vehicle and start the work order process, scan their parts so they can identify what they're using. I mentioned that before, and then, yeah, those are the 4 items that they can do. The IBS, the Integrated Business Solutions, that's something we're looking forward to. We're just doing a little inventory, asking some of the dealers what the vendors, what can they provide for us. Nothing has we haven't agreed to anything yet. We're just surveying the field. Napa seems to be the best qualified. They're the largest. Basically what that is you allow one of these vendors to come in and open a store in your shop. They'll manage all the parts, and they'll get us the parts. Even during inclement weather, they have someone there to work with us. And there will be special situations where someone can't make it, we'll have a key where we can get those parts as well. Upgrading the Dobbs fueling system, that is very critical. That system is pretty old. We don't see those type of systems any longer, so we can't wait to have that done this year. The money has been approved for that in the budget already. And that completes my briefing. Pending any questions?
I just wanted to add one thing, and that's just a shout out to finance for all the help in getting the leasing program set up. They've been very helpful in making sure that we're sticking to the budget and understand how that's all tracking. Record keeping for us is a big deal as well, and HyperWeb and the IT group has been helpful in getting that implemented as well. Sorry, just wanted to...
Hey, Dan, could you flip back to fiscal year budget changes slide? No, it just looks like if every year we reduce your budget by $300,000, you can make it.
Thank you, Councilman.
In all seriousness, I've heard very positive things from people who have to use vehicles and the reliability, especially around some of the new lease stuff, and that's going to work out. So there seems to be a lot of good feeling about it.
We're excited too.
Any other questions or comments?
Thank you for your hard work.
Yeah, good presentation. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to Administration, Finance, Recreation, and Parks Committee agenda. First, we're going to take a break. Okay.
Oh, no, Gary.
Do that.
Thank you.
Do some jokes or something during the...
I just had one and I'm done now.
So they had a test. It was an old kid. And it was with nothing else. That's what will come up. I tell people, when I see a woman walking her dog, check out the dog. Okay, moving on to the Administration, Finance, Recreation, and Parks Committee agenda. First item on the agenda, the approval of the minutes for the Administration, Finance, Recreation, and Parks Committee meeting for June 11th, 2019. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Tizer. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Wilsey. Any further discussion or comments? All in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. Moving on to administration, item number 2, consideration of a resolution to accept a 2019-2020 AmeriCorps Grant Award from the Georgia Commission for Service and Volunteerism in the amount of $76,150 and approval of a budget amendment in the amount of $118,190. Mr. Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. This item is one that's a continuation of a couple of years of work with the AmeriCorps. We're really excited about what the potential of it is. It's had its challenges along the way, but we do have another grant opportunity. And Megan is here, Boynton from our grants division. I want her to talk a little bit about what this grant means and where we're going with it, because she's just extensively been working on this one. So Megan, I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, so this is a continuation of an AmeriCorps grant. We approached committee, and then it went to mayor and council in January to go ahead and apply for this. We are seeking funds in order to be able to partner with 2 local nonprofits, Star House Foundation and the YMCA, both of which provide after-school programming locally. We would like to be able to supplement their after-school programming by enlisting the help of 24 AmeriCorps National Service members and inviting them to act in the role of tutor at 3 local schools where the students, K through 3, are striving to meet grade level goals, including with respect to literacy. So this grant effectively would allow us to do that. The total amount of the grant at $118,190 represents both the amount that we would receive from AmeriCorps through the Georgia Commission for Service and Volunteerism, as well as the city's match. Are there any questions?
Floor is open.
Move to approve.
Motion approved by the mayor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Judy. Any further questions or comments? All in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item number 3, consideration of the mayor and her city administrator to sign a contract with Plant Moran for a citywide organization and cultural study in the amount of $100,000. Mr. Fisher.
Thank you. This item is to let us move forward doing our operational and organizational review for the city of Roswell. It's something we've talked about in the past, getting ready to see what our structure is like, what our organizational structure is like, what our cultural structure is like within the city. We went out for proposals, and we got 6 responses. Plant Moran was the most responsive and responsible proposer. We've had a history with Plant Moran here. They were the ones who helped us when we first did our ERP process 10 years ago in putting together the scope of work just for that project. We hired a firm just to do that. There was about 1,000 different tasks within that scope. So we've had a relationship with them. I was surprised I didn't know they did this kind of work, but they do, and in their response it was very well done. The project will have 3 phases that I've sort of outlined in the item agenda. The organizational review, there's a couple of things they'll do. They will compare us, of course, with other like cities, both in the area and then hopefully some more national cities or other areas that they're familiar with to see how we align. that's sometimes a little difficult when you look at some of the uniqueness of different cities. I mean, for us, for instance, in the fire department, we don't have just a few employees because they're full-time, because there's a lot of part-time folks there. So some of the things look a little bit different, but we can gain a lot of value from looking at what other cities do. They'll also be looking at our workloads. They'll be doing interviews with department directors, division managers, and others to see what the workload is like. And then the second phase goes into more of the culture of our employees. What are their challenges? What are their communication lines? How are we working together? So they will put emphasis on our employees. There'll be a survey that will go out to all employees to be able to get input from them on the actual working culture of the city. Then lastly, they'll put all that information together and report out to us, with the idea being that we're looking for what is the most efficient way to be structured. You know, our charter kind of laid out our structure, and that was a few years ago. So is that still the way we need to be? We have divisions that in a lot of places are departments now. I don't know if that'll become the recommendations or not. I'm really anxious to see what their recommendation is going to be. But ultimately, what we're looking for is for them to evaluate our structures and our workloads, do kind of an inventory of everything that we're doing, and then look for those ways that we can be more efficient, that we can work better, both internally within departments, outside of the city, how we can do things. You just heard Dan talking about doing something with the private, with Napa or a company to work internally with us. So that's the kind of stuff that we need to go out and see what's going on, but how do we need to be structured? The other part of this, if this moves forward, once this gets done, we are budgeted for this next year to do a full comp and pay plan, compensation and pay plan. So this will be very well used in that, because we'll have our structure organized and laid out like it needs to be. So then another firm can come in and look at the pay and look at the classifications and job descriptions and that kind of thing. So it should dovetail well into that. This firm, we've negotiated to $100,000, and I'm just asking for your approval to move this item forward. We do have funding available.
Floor is open.
Here's a question, Michael. Is this something that we've ever had done before, or is
Not that
the
I'm aware of.
organization has just basically evolved over time? And
In the last 10 years it has, unless we've done something before then. Generally, if we have something that comes up that we need, well, take for instance special events. When that came up, there's no, it can't be a department as it is, because our charter kind of lays that out. So they just become divisions. IT is a division. It's not a department. So yeah, it just kind of evolves over time. We've never really had it looked at to see if there's efficiencies that can be gained. Are we duplicating work? Are we not? One of the examples that we use from time to time, and I was discussing this with the mayor, and this has been in other entities I've been in also, is engineering. You have engineers in transportation and public works. You have engineers down in ComDev. Should that be that way, or should engineering be all together working for us as a whole with different disciplines? So, and I don't know what the answer to that is. That's why that kind of a study is very helpful to look at our overall structure. But I don't know that we've done one before that I'm aware of.
Is there a timeline on if we approve this, how quickly this study gets done?
Jim, do you remember
I think
what theirs was?
December was the time frame that would be all.
The reason I ask is I don't know if this would be helpful in the strategic plan, sharing the information between the studies of stuff, and if it was going to be in time for.
I don't know that the report out will be in time for the strategic plan. I think what we're looking at is how we're organized to do our work. The strategic plan will come up with what we're going to be doing in the future, but I think how our structure is laid out is going to adapt to the strategic plan, but I don't know that it'll be done in time for that. It'll be done in time to get the comp study is what we're shooting for, to have it done in time to get it in for the budget for the next year.
Okay.
But anything that we can share for the strategic plan, we certainly will. Any other?
Motion to approve?
Motion approved by Councilmember Judy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Tizer. Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your hands. Seeing 1, 2, 3, and Councilman Palermo and the mayor are no. Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to the next item, number 4, consideration of an ordinance to authorize Fulton County to conduct an election on November 5th, 2019, and runoff, if necessary, on December 3rd, 2019, in an amount not to exceed $534,932.
So this item is an ongoing thing. It seems like every couple of years when we have an election, there's something else that comes up. As you well see, the amount of the election is way more than what it has been in the past. It has to do with the number of cities that are involved in the election. Marley has really worked tirelessly to try to get all of this information to us, and now it's just a matter of what are we going to do with it. So I'll let Marley give you the details.
Well, I went out to Fulton County to try to get some answers of why our contract has gone up so much. And if you all see in here, they're saying one of the main reasons is that Atlanta is not going to be part of this election. So I guess everybody's costs have to help make up for Atlanta not being in it. They are doing some other things this year that they haven't done in the past that are mentioned in here. They're doing mailings out to voters that they haven't done in the past. They're trying to do more training with their poll workers, and they said that's going to be much difference in the cost of doing all that training. One of the problems was, I don't know if they really told the cities up front that they were going to be doing all this so that there was going to be such an increase. But that's the cost, but I do understand that Mayor Henry has had some talks too.
Yeah, I've got an update on it, and like I said, this is a long, ongoing issue that we've got with Fulton County. We are bound by law to only contract with Fulton County for our elections. So the big picture is, you know, we'll have to negotiate a service delivery strategy next year. This is going to play into that. I've got this issue on the next mayor's meeting. And I would also go on to say that training is not our responsibility. We have negotiated with Fulton County for our elections. If they decide to do additional mailers or training, that's their responsibility. But the good news is I've been in conversations with our Commissioner Liz Hausman, and she has assured me, she said, please do not approve of this item this evening. And she is fairly confident that we will be able to reduce this cost.
Okay.
And we go, just by way of history, we go through this dance every single time, which is getting very tiresome. So then I would like to go on to say, back to the big picture, is a number of years ago, we asked Senator Albers to introduce a bill down at the State House, which basically says that we can contract with counties to perform our elections, which would give Fulton County, they would have to be in the running, so to speak, because we could get bids from Cherokee County, Cobb County, whatever the case may be, so Fulton County no longer has a monopoly on it. So my proposal is, as part of all of this, is that we resend the letter to our state reps. I will also take that to the mayor's meeting, and that we try to get it passed where we're not hogtied by Fulton County and we don't go through this every year, because it's really quite difficult and they've got us over a barrel.
Floor is open.
So you're wanting to defer this item
Yes.
to a particular date?
Pardon?
To a day or time or meeting?
Marley, when do we have to have an answer for them?
Well, I mean, the ordinance itself for us to pass the contract is, we have to have everything to them by August 9th. They said because it has to be 90 days before the election. So they did move that date originally that we had as of, I think it was July 7th, and they did move it because of all this, but I don't know if they're still going to make us abide by that August.
What meetings do we have between now and August 9th?
Well, I mean, we have the 2 meetings that I was gonna, if we were able to bring this for first reading on the 22nd, and then the second reading on the 29th, the night that we have open forum at a special call meeting, because then the next time would be after the August 9th date.
Then what I would suggest is we put it on the first possible meeting. I'll have a conversation with Commissioner Hausman. We'll get this taken care of, and then I will email each one of you on what she has been able to negotiate.
Still put it on for the 22nd, or are we gonna bring it back to committee, or just take it to council on the 22nd?
To me, do we have time? Because we got to do 2 readings, correct?
Correct.
So do we send it to first reading and then?
I'd say we take it straight to council.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we need a motion to move that forward.
Motion to move to council.
Without the dollar amount?
No, just move it and we have to change it if.
Without the dollar amount.
And will you be able to call a special call meeting then for the 29th?
So we're moving this to what meeting date?
The 22nd, mayor and council, and then the second reading will be on the 29th.
So there's a motion on the floor to move this ordinance to the July 22nd meeting.
Without the dollar amount.
I'm sorry?
Without the dollar
Without
amount.
the dollar amount. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Wilsey. Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. Item number 5, consideration to have advanced voting for the November 5th, 2019 general municipal election at Roswell City Hall in room G45 from October 14, 2019 to November 1st, 2019.
All right, well, this issue came up. Mayor Henry did ask us to look into it since we do not have the library available this year, the Roswell Library. And we wanted to consider maybe having a site on this side of town. So we did look into it. We did have Fulton County come out and look. We didn't really want to use this room. It closes this room off for 3.5 weeks. So they did look at G45 and they were satisfied with the room. We did have a meeting with security, with building ops, with IT, with Michael, with everybody. Liz Hausman was here, Mayor Henry was here. The people from the elections office were also here. So it's a consideration if you all want to have it. There is I mean, we do have to pay for advanced voting. All cities pay for advanced voting anyways, but they will not pay for our extra overtime that it's going to cost our
I have an update on that.
Oh, you have an update on that too? Cool.
They will be paying for the overtime.
Oh, okay.
So we will open City Hall to room G45.
Okay.
We will restrict people to the first level.
Right.
There's no reason to come up here after hours. And that I have assurances that Fulton County, there was a miscommunication among staff.
Okay.
And that Fulton County will pick up the cost for that. So we can open our doors for early voting, which will be great for the folks on the west side of Roswell. And it'll take up for the library being closed.
Just to be clear, G45 is where?
It is downstairs, so people will just come in out of the regular security place. It's in the middle, like right across from community development. There is a conference room down there that we
Next to
have
the
now.
elevators.
Right behind the elevator.
Yeah.
As you're facing the elevators on the right side.
Yes. So they've already talked with James and building ops, and they kind of already had a plan how we're going to get people in and everything, and signs and everything. So they are, we are going to have the same hours as all other voting sites. They thought it would be better for it just to be consistent across the board. So there will be early voting also on a Saturday here too, the 26th.
And the only thing I need to do is follow up with Fulton County and give Commissioner Hausman the cost on this, and they will reimburse
Oh, okay.
us.
I'll just have a James thing.
And I will do that tomorrow morning. Good news.
Yes.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
I think, yeah, I don't think we need to take official action.
No? Good.
No? It doesn't have to go to council or anything? This is, no?
When there's no cost.
Okay.
It's true.
Mayor, take care of that. Okay? Was that it for that one, Marley?
Okay.
Is that it for that
That's
one?
it.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on to finance.
Thank you for coming in.
agenda. Item number 6, presentation of the fiscal year 2019 fourth quarter budget initiative progress report. Ms. Hoare.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and Council members. So this is our last and final budget initiative progress report for FY19. And the slides are organized by department. So we'll start with the administration department's initiatives first. So the total number of initiatives that we've been reporting on for the administration department have been 11. And of those 11 initiatives, 5 have been completed. 5 are progressing as planned, and there is only 1 that has been delayed. And these are the list of projects that we have been reporting on, the 11 projects, so you can see the status of them. Next, we have community development. There were only 2 initiatives that we've been reporting on, and both have been completed. The second one is substantially complete, so that should be completed hopefully in a month or 2. And then for environmental public works, this summary includes projects for all the 4 funds. And we have, so the department has completed or substantially completed 12 of their 18 initiatives. 5 of them are progressing as planned, and there is only 1 that is delayed. And the delayed project is the La Quinta pipelining project in the Stormwater Fund. And the reason it has been delayed is due to some easement issues that they're having. And these are the list of projects again with the status by fund. And then in the finance department, there was only 1 initiative that we were reporting on, and that is progressing as planned, and that was basically the budgetary software that we had acquired. And then in the fire department, there were a total of 10 initiatives, of which 4 have been completed, 3 are progressing as planned, and 3 are delayed. And of the 3 initiatives that have been delayed, one of them is the communications enhancement, and that is because the intercom system that was originally specified did not meet the expectations, so it was returned. And so they're working on another one. A different system has been identified, and they will be sending that out for testing. Moving on to the police department, so they had a total of 13 initiatives in FY19. Of those, 9 have been completed, and 4 of them are progressing as planned, and the ones that are progressing as planned should be completed soon. And those are the list of projects. And then in recreation and parks, there were a total of 7 initiatives. 4 have been completed, and 3 are progressing as planned. And then in transportation, there were a total of 17 initiatives that we have been reporting on for the last 4 quarters, of which 2 have been completed, 8 are progressing as planned, and 7 have been delayed. And the reasons for the delay are varied. I mean, it's different for each project. There was 1 project that has been delayed because of the traffic studies to be completed and approved by GDOT. And then in 1 project, it was a lack of funding. So those are some of the reasons why they've been delayed. And the details for each of these projects are provided in the report that has been included in your packets. If you'll have any questions about any specific project, we would be happy to answer. And that's the list of projects for transportation.
The floor is open.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Harper.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 7, discussion of advertising requirements for the fiscal year 2020 millage rate for the city of Roswell. Mr. Lucky.
evening, everyone. I'm here for two reasons this evening. One is to get some guidance on starting off our millage rate adoption process, and of course, along with that, we have some advertising requirements. So we're not really seeking a final decision on a millage rate this evening. This is more of just getting some guidance on the millage rate that we want to advertise. And then also this evening, I wanted to provide you with some updates on our digest. We did receive our property tax digest from Fulton County back on June 25th. And so I wanted to share those details with you. Just to give you some background, as you remember, on for our FY 2020 budget, that was adopted by the Mayor and Council on May 28th. That was based on an estimated millage rate. And so now that we have some details on our property tax digest, we are ready to move forward. We are requesting guidance, like I said, on moving forward with that millage rate advertising process. Just to give you a little bit of background on kind of where we are and how we got here. As you might remember, it was back in 2017, so it's been 2 years ago now, when the digest values for Fulton County experienced tremendous growth. In response to that growth, Fulton County froze the digest at the 2016 levels. The state then rejected that digest that Fulton County submitted, and we were able to bill our property tax bills through a temporary collection order that was approved by the court. The tax digest for 2017 and 2018 are both still temporary, still kind of up in the air and being worked out through the court system. So those have not been resolved. But in response to the tremendous growth in property values that we saw, as you know, the General Assembly approved a new homestead exemption for North Fulton cities as well as Fulton County schools, and those exemptions were approved by the voters this past November and will be implemented during this current tax year. So just to give you some background, an update on our property tax digest for tax year 2019. So this table reflects our gross digest value, so there are no exemptions factored in here. But as you can see, our tax year 2018, which was last year, our total digest was about $5.6 billion. The preliminary digest that we've received from Fulton County is at $6.1 billion, so that's a growth of $462 million in value, assessed value, which equates to about 8.2%. One of the good and interesting facts in the details is that of this $462 million increase in value, just over half of that increase is a result of new growth in the city. So not inflationary growth, but new growth. When you take a look at our property tax digest broken down by type of property, you can see that we've had some changes over the last year. So in the prior year, residential property made up about 73%. That has decreased in this current digest down to 71%. We've seen growth in our commercial property digest from 24 to 26%. And you see that in the numbers on the previous slide where you see our commercial property digest has grown by nearly 15% year over year. Regarding our homestead exemptions, this table gives you a listing of all the current exemptions that the city offers. So the first three we have had in the city for quite some time. Anyone over 65 and over receives a $2,000 exemption. If you are 65 and over and you have an annual income of $40,000 or less, you receive a $20,000 exemption. And if you are a disabled veteran, you qualify for a $67,555 exemption. The cumulative value of those exemptions are listed in that right-hand column. And then this year, for the first year, we have the new floating homestead exemption. And of course, the value of that exemption varies parcel by parcel. But now that we have the details, we now know that the value of the floating homestead exemption is that it will decrease our digest by approximately $627 million in the upcoming, this current tax year that we are getting ready to bill for. when you take all of these all of these exemptions, this results in about $3.3 million in tax savings for our residents, which equates to an average of about $117 per household. And then in case you've ever been curious about how these are calculated, I want to just walk you through one example. This is an actual real parcel here in Roswell. With this current digest, the average home value in Roswell has increased to $383,000. So the assessed value of that home would be $153,200. That's the 40% value, the assessed value. So to calculate the homestead exemption, the floating homestead exemption for this current tax year, what the county has done is they've gone back and looked at the last 3 years, so 16, 17, and 18. They take the lowest value, which as you can see here would be these 2 years here, $105,160. That lowest year is then grown by 4.23%, and that is to account for the inflationary growth that has occurred in the last 2 years, from 2017 to 2019. And that gets you to a base year value of $109,608. You then get to the exemption amount by taking the assessed value of $153,200, subtracting out the base year value, and getting to the exemption amount of $43,592. So this particular parcel in Roswell will see their assessed value decrease by that $43,000 just on their city tax bill. That doesn't count, the exemptions they'll see for the county schools as well as the county itself. So that results for this particular parcel in a tax savings of $216. So that's the background on the digest itself. So when you translate that to how it impacts our revenues, I wanted to give you an update on that as well. So this slide shows you year-over-year change. So looking at that, you can see in FY 2019 we collected about $26.7 million. In FY 2020, we're anticipating, based on this new information, to collect $26.45 million, which is about $300,000 less than last year. We anticipated that number to be closer to $1.2 million months ago when we had very little details to go on. And we also were not anticipating the level of digest growth that we saw with residential and commercial growth. So that's good news. It's helped us offset some of this decrease that we've seen. The next slide compares, looks at the FY 2020 budget that we just adopted in May. So we did take into account what we expected for the new floating homestead exemption. So you can see the 2020 budget, we anticipated $25.5 million. Based on this new information, we're estimating right now we're about $26.45. So you can see we're right at $1 million positive beyond what we budgeted in the FY 20 approved budget. And again, primarily as a result of this digest growth that was greater than what we anticipated. I would point out, so we're estimating $1 million additional. There are some unknowns that we need to keep in mind. One of those has to do with appeals. So this is an update on last year's appeals. So as you can see, the county, as you might remember, they were not even able to submit the digest to the state because of the number of appeals that had occurred. In Roswell, we had about 10% of properties appeal their assessment, and that equated to nearly 3,000 properties. To date, just under half of those have been resolved. So as you can see, of the ones that have been resolved, 53% had no change, and 46% had the value lowered. And just to give you an idea, of those that had a value change, on average, the value has decreased by 18.2%. So we still have about half of these appeals that need to be worked through, and that will impact our revenues for FY 20. And this does not include any appeals that take place for the current tax year, 2019. So we want to take that into account, as well as, I know during the budget process we talked about some items that were priorities, but that didn't necessarily get funded, things such as our road resurfacing project, and we have a few other items like that that are kind of uncertain at this point. So that's a summary of our digest update. Getting into the advertising requirements, we are required to advertise a 5-year history of our digest, as well as what the current digest looks like, and this is regardless of what millage rate the council moves forward with. So we'll be advertising that 5-year history. Also, the notice of property tax increase. This advertisement is required if we adopt a millage rate or plan to adopt a millage rate that exceeds the rollback rate. At this time, because of the homestead exemption, the new homestead exemption that is in place, our digest has a net decrease. And so the rollback rate, we are not exceeding the rollback rate. So this particular advertisement, the notice of property tax increase, is not needed at this time. This is not what will be advertised. This is an example of what the 5-year history looks like. This is the one from last year. Just to give you some other information, council may adopt a lower millage rate than what was advertised without any negative implications. But if the council were to adopt a millage rate higher than what was advertised, it would require the entire advertising process and hearing process to start over. We are recommending to move forward with advertising the current millage rate of 4.955 mils. And we wanted to, before we move forward with that, just get some guidance from the council that if that is acceptable for moving forward. I also wanted to point out the process for adopting the millage rate. Since we don't require the notice of property tax increase advertisement, we only need to have 2 public hearings. So we would propose those, one to start on July 22nd, the second to be held on August 12th. At that time, the council would be voting and deciding on what millage rate to adopt. Like I said, it can vary from what is advertised, and tonight we're just looking for guidance on what you all are comfortable with advertising. So with that, I'm available for any questions.
Floor is open.
So, Ryan, I just want to congratulate you and your staff for getting through all of the estimating that had to be done through the whole legal process that was going on. I know we were very concerned about being $1.3 million short, or 1.2, whatever the number was, and to have estimated that in a way that we don't have to be worried about it. I think you guys have done a great job with that. I'm supportive of the recommendation by staff.
Any further questions or comments? Is there a motion? Do we need to move this forward? Okay. You good? All right.
I'm very supportive, thank you.
Okay, word. Thank you.
And no items under recreation and parks, so we are adjourned.
Thank you.